So he's saying this war is going great. We should have a ceasefire soon, okay? And then maybe an hour later, he's like, oh, I think I need to drop bombs on Iran. So there's a lot of conflicting signals coming from Trump. And what I want to show you today, what I want to argue to you today is that you have to ignore these signals and focus on the larger American strategy in this war. And once we understand the strategy, then it's very easy for us to understand how this war will progress over the next few years, okay? Because this war is not going to end soon. It won't be a few months, it'll probably be a few years. And quite honestly, it may take 10 or 20 years. Okay, so let's look over some more news. So as I mentioned previously, oil refineries are getting sabotaged, either by accident or purposefully. What this tells us is that in the past 45 days, there have been at least 45 recorded incidents around the world of oil refineries being set on fire. Okay, so Iran was bombed by the Israelis, and then the Israelis responded by attacking Qatar. Russia is being attacked by Ukraine, and the big one is that in Australia, in Geelong, one of the refineries was set on fire, and they claim it was an accident. This is important because Australia is not at war, but Australia needs a lot of oil. Okay, so right now Australia is in a lot of trouble. Romania, Bucharest has been hit. India has been hit. Myanmar has been hit. Okay, so all around the world, there are these fires going on, destroying the world's oil supply. So why is this happening? And who's doing this? We don't know. And quite honestly, we may never know. But to figure out the answer, you always ask yourself, who benefits, right? And you always look at three things: means, motive, and opportunity. And so from this, you could figure out that the majority of these fires are being deliberately set in order to reduce the world's oil supply. And the people who can do this, the people who benefit from doing this, are the Russians or the Americans, okay? One of these two. It's probably both, but we don't know for sure yet. All right. This war, as we discussed previously, is already having a tremendous impact on the world's economy. So sulfur has risen in price by 57%. Sulfur is important for the manufacture of both fertilizers as well as for microchips. Okay? Jet fuel has gone by 52%. So next time you're flying to the United States, it's going to be a much more expensive ticket. Urea is important for fertilizer, diesel, gasoline, fertilizer. So basically, food and energy, their prices have gone way up. Okay? Donald Trump makes a statement saying that the Iranian flag cargo ship Tosca has been boarded by the Americans. Okay? And Donald Trump continues to threaten the Iranians and say that if you continue to close off the Strait of Hormuz, then we will negotiate with bombs, basically. All right? No more Mr. Nice Guy. And quite honestly, what he's also saying is, we don't really care because we don't need that oil from the Middle East. Also, we can sell our oil to the world, okay? The United States loses nothing. In fact, many ships are headed right now to the US, Texas, Louisiana, Alaska to load up compliments of the IRGC, or we just want to be the tough guy. All right, so we're the ones benefiting from this war. So we have nothing to worry about. All right, so another thing that I want you guys to pay attention to is how America is moving towards a war economy. All right, so the Pentagon has been in talks with General Motors and Ford to make munitions, drones, and military equipment. All right, so this is what this last happened in World War II when America moved to total war. Their factories that used to make cars were now making tanks. But not only that, but Trump also announced something called the Defense Production Act as of today. And what this does is it basically allows the government to subsidize private corporations in the manufacture of weapons. Okay? So these companies, General Motors, Ford, they can make a lot of money because of this war. That's something to keep in mind. Starting December, Americans who are aged 18 to 26 will be automatically registered for the draft. Okay? So it's very likely that America will soon introduce the national draft and force young men to go fight in the Middle East. Currently, the Pentagon budget is $1 trillion. Next year, it'll be $1.5 trillion, an increase of 50%. Okay? And we can expect that the year after, it might be $2 trillion. More veterans are now being asked to serve longer. Okay? So what we're seeing is that the United States is moving towards a wartime economy. Okay? They're preparing for what we call total war, when an economy moves towards the manufacture of weapons and munitions. All right. Another thing that's been happening that you should pay attention to is the fact that there's very little opposition. In fact, there's no opposition to Donald Trump fighting this war in Iran. You would think that the Democrats, his opponents, would use this opportunity to promote anti-war messages or try to stop him from plunging America into another forever war in the Middle East. Instead, the Democrats are doing as much as possible not to do anything. So recently in Congress, they had a vote as to whether or not to restrict Trump's ability to fight this war, okay? And there were 4 Republicans who did not vote, and 1 Republican who voted, we should restrict Trump, okay? And so this vote should have been 214 to 213 in favor of yes, we will restrict Trump's war powers. But then what happened was that one Democrat, just one Democrat, decides, I want to switch my vote to no. So now it becomes 214 to 213. Okay, do you understand? Guys, this is all political theater. You understand? It's all theater, meaning that it was already prearranged between the Republicans and Democrats that this resolution would fail. In other words, it may be 2 Republicans voted yes, then 2 Democrats would have voted no. If 10 Republicans voted yes, then 10 Democrats would have voted no. You understand? The Democrats are not opposing this war. They're doing as much as possible to support this war. So